So, Ger Redmond, you're very welcome to the Bulletproof Dad podcast today. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
I'm delighted to have you here today, Ger. We've had a couple of WhatsApps forward and back over the last few weeks about this to get this set up. And for anyone who doesn't know, Ger's story is genuinely incredible. So you're in for a treat if you haven't heard from Ger before. And if you have, I'm conscious Ger does a lot of podcasts. This is going to be one with a different sort of angle as well. So you're going to hear about different parts of Ger's story that you may not have heard about before. So strap yourself in for this one, guys. So Ger, when anybody sits in front of me here in this seat, I'm always keen to kind of go back to the start of where it all started, because our childhood has a massive impact on where we are now in our lives. And for you, this is particularly true. So can you tell us about your upbringing? Because you only grew up a couple of kilometres from where we are in the studio today.
Yeah, so I grew up in a place called Darndale. I'm sure you all know it. It's a deprived area. Growing up for me, it was cold. And then when I say cold, it was cold from an emotional point of view and from... it was cold in the house, no heating, no emotions. There was no love in my house. My mother would have had her own issues, her own generational trauma. So would my father had, and they found it hard to express love or any emotion for that matter in the home. I watched my mother being beat up as a young kid from the corner of the stairs, and I remember if I was caught, I'd get a few slaps myself. That sort of gave me an issue around wetting the bed because I was afraid to go to the toilet at times. And then when I woke up in the mornings, I'd be sent to school wet and smell of piss on me as a punishment.
Okay, yeah.
And I used to get a coach. I actually used to go to a school in Concealy here, not far from here.
Oh, just on the Malahide Road there, the road, yeah.
So for some reason, I don't know how that came about, but we used to go to Concealy School from Darndale.
It's not far though, to be fair. You only bus down the road, really.
It's only up Malahide Road. Yeah. But the coach used to collect us. I used to bleeding hate when the coach used to come, because obviously there was a smell on me and I'd know.
What age were you here? This is what?
About 8 or 9, I was very young, only a kid, first class probably. Probably first, second class. And then I'd sit on the couch and they'd be pointing at me and be, getting stick and I just used to fucking hate going to that coach. And then look, I witnessed a murder at the age of 10. I seen a shooting, some man got killed.
Was it around your estate or?
Yeah, it was just local. We just seen him getting chased and we followed him on our BMXs and we heard the gunshot go off, and then we actually seen it happen, heard the gunshot and all, and then obviously there was people all around the person and that. So that was the first, as a kid you don't realise how big that is, do you know what I mean?
I was going to say, did that kind of feel normal at the time, or did you...
Not normal, but you don't really understand what that means. Someone died, when you're a kid, you can't really regulate that emotion internally to a degree where you're like, whoa, that's actually someone's big thing, dad or someone's... And then look at rob cars all the time, always looking at fights, chaos in the house, constant chaos in my house, constant drinking, gambling and all sorts. It was never a stable house. There was never any consistency. You might get 1 or 2 good days a month and you'd be like, but you're just waiting for it to
you can relax,
Couldn't relax,
comfort in your own home.
I found soccer. Soccer was my first love. But I feel like that I took that up because I felt like a part of a family. I felt like I was someone. Felt like I had a connection with people.
Definitely, yeah.
And I was accepted, got self-belief in that. Became a really good soccer player. But I definitely think it was a coping mechanism for me as a young kid to get out of the house.
Definitely,
and to feel that togetherness.
Yeah.
Looking back now, that was definitely a coping mechanism. But I got an opportunity to play for the Dublin team. I represented Dublin.
What club did you play with first of all?
I played with Columbans.
Oh yeah. Some good battles with them over the years.
Yeah. So I played with them. And from there, actually I played for Prizewood as well, up in Clonshock. Played with them. Got a try for the Dublin team. Made it onto the Dublin team. Represented Dublin in the Kennedy Cup. Won the Kennedy Cup. I was there then a scout.
What age were you then?
Under 15s.
Anyone that doesn't understand maybe the underage soccer, that's a huge achievement. Some of the best players to ever come through this country have all played in the Kennedy Cup.
Yeah, Roy Keane and all, and Gary Kelly and all them were there. Won the Kennedy Cup. Massive achievement. The Kennedy Cup is it's a massive cup, schoolboy cup. It's held down in Limerick. But it was brilliant. I loved it. Playing twice a day. Scouts see me there, came to watch me with St. Columbans. And the day he came to watch, he scored 10 goals in one game.
Right.
Now, mind you, the club or the the team was in Brentford.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great leading team. Like, team was all right, but the league we were in was absolutely disgraceful. So for me to score 10 goals wasn't a massive achievement, but still done it right. Scout came down to the house, offered me a trial, and I was over the moon. Couldn't believe it. Like, this was a dream of mine for many years. Coming from Darndale was unheard of.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow.
Where was the trial for?
Dunfermline.
Yeah.
Team called Dunfermline in Scotland. So I was invited over. I remember it was February because I remember we used to go off for Valentine's week, and I remember then going over there. I went over there on a flight. Actually, the week before I was playing FIFA with Dunfermline.
Right,
with the lads, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
What year was this roughly?
Oh, God, it was around, I know it was around the Alma bombing. I know
Okay.
it's around, what year, whatever
Was
year
that
that
late
was.
90s, was it?
It could have been like 98 maybe, would it
Okay.
be? Would it? Not too sure, around that. But I remember that happening when I was over there.
Okay, yeah.
That's how I know in my head.
It's amazing what Regis says with you, yeah.
Yeah, because it was a big thing, you know. But yeah, when I got off the flight, they were playing Falkirk, Dunfermline, the under 15s or 16s. And I went down, got togged out, put a new gear on. They were losing 3-1, put me on at half time, scored 2, and I led up the winner.
Right.
And the rest was history.
You only just touched down. And you
Only
were doing
touched
that,
down, yeah. The manager then of the Dunfermline team brought me around East End Park, which is the Dunfermline stadium, and offered me a 2-year YTS, which is a youth training scholarship type thing. So I went home. Not that I had much to get together, but got me shit together. I went over and started. Actually, I went up the Milk Cup first. Met them up there in the Milk Cup. Played in the Milk Cup. And here's a great story, because when we were playing in Brentford, we used to play like Stella and Belvedere. We might get them in the cup.
Yeah.
And they used to always turn up all, you know, we'd be in rags.
They'd always wear the suits when there was
Yeah.
a big DDSL
Do you know what I mean?
thing, yeah.
They'd always turn up, and it was fucking great. I walked into this dinner hall, massive dinner hall, and Stella were there, and Home Farm, and all these lads I played for, and I walked in with Dunfermline, all kitted out, fucking class, you know. It was like, fuck yes. Because I was Brentford, and they were in the school, the NDS, what was it?
It's DDSL.
Yeah. So that would have been a much better league.
Yeah, that's where all the best players get going, yeah.
So I remember walking in and going, you know what I mean? I was wear like a professional outfit.
Yeah.
So that was like, to me, that was like, I've really done something good here.
Yeah.
This is a huge achievement. Do you know what I mean?
What was the reaction like at home when you had the option to go? Like
I don't really remember. I actually don't remember anything being like a celebration type thing.
Yeah.
Don't remember anything like that. Don't even remember being dropped off up at the airport, you know?
Yeah.
I don't have any fond memories around, wow, well done,
Yeah.
congratulations, anything like that.
And had any other like people you knew around Darndale, around the estate, done a similar journey? Like had they produced any footballers before then?
No,
that you're aware
I
of?
think Kenny Cunningham was over in Morphew.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the only one I remember was Kenny Cunningham.
Yeah.
He was Morphew. I don't recall anyone else really going over, and actually, I don't recall anyone. So it was very, very.
Can you remember even maybe the coaches that you were working with, Columbians and stuff? Was there a bit of like, there must have been a buzz somewhere, even with your own close friends that you were playing football with? Like, was there a bit of excitement around the place?
Oh yeah, no,
Like,
the coaches and the club, there was lots of excitement, but in the family home, I don't recall any, anyone celebrating it, or I don't recall anything like that. But yeah, now the coaches were ecstatic, and the players on my team were like, wow, you're actually going over there to fucking going full time, like. So yeah, no, it was a massive thing within the club.
How did you find when you moved over then? What was it like? Because obviously you're away from home, again, depending on the circumstances. Was it a good or a bad thing that you were away?
It wasn't great, because I moved into an annex on top of a pub.
Right.
And there was a man that owned the pub was in charge of me. And I'd come home and there'd be a dinner in the microwave. Most of the stuff I wouldn't even eat.
Yeah.
Do you know, like leading potatoes and their skins and all healthy stuff. And I never ate any of that. So I was like, that's fucking shite, man.
Yeah.
Do you know? So it was hard to get used to the diet. I had to get a bus to East End Park every day from East Fife. Yeah, so it was difficult. There was
How
no
far
real
a journey is that roughly?
It was probably 8k or something, not too sure. But
It's
it
weird that
wasn't far.
football, like a digs for, what are you, about 15 or 16 here, yeah?
Yeah.
Strange place to have a digs for a kid.
Isn't it?
Pub, yeah.
Like, there was no interaction with anyone. I was literally there, and that's it all day.
Was there any other Irish over there with you?
There was one lad from Moyle as well, Phil Birmingham. He was there with me as well. But again, he came over later on after me. Do you know what I mean? I was only there with him for probably a month, which was great, but because I had a bit more interaction with people and
Yeah.
someone from my own country.
Yeah.
But yeah, it went a different way then after that.
Well, tell us, because you were there a few months, weren't you? And things were going quite well.
There about 6 months, things were going well. Then I got a call from home. Something had happened at home. And I asked the coach, could I go back home, see was everything all right? And then, when I got off the flight, I didn't realise at that time, but I was going to go down the deep dark hole. A hole with no light for probably the best part of 20 years. My father had committed a crime, and he was in custody then when I got home, and my mother was in the house with other people. She shouldn't have been drinking, and I had 5 other brothers and sisters, 4 under the age of 10. So I went from being in a dream to being in a bleeding horror movie. You know, it was a nightmare. Then my mother moved out a month later. She moved to Liverpool with another man and let my sister look after 4 kids under the age of 10.
This is on the space of a month of coming home from.
Yeah.
So you're over there chasing your dream, and then you came back to this chaos. So
Yeah.
So just to get perspective there, it was yourself and your sister. Was your sister a similar age bracket to you?
She was older, a year older.
Okay, and then you have 4 siblings then. What age brackets are they roughly?
They're 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Well, yeah. So a lot of responsibility thrown on your shoulders there straight away.
So I went from putting the ball at the back of the net to putting food on the table.
Yeah, okay. And like when you come back then, like what are your options? Because obviously you're now, yourself and your sister are sitting down. I'm sure she's probably looking after the kids, and your job is to go and, as you said, put food on the table. What's the options for you then as a 16-year-old who's only kind of been playing football? I imagine education probably wasn't at the front of your mind when you were playing ball over there.
Yeah, the options really were, well, I could go back over and pursue my dream.
Yeah.
That was one option.
Did you consider that?
I did consider that, yeah. I mean, I was told to do that. There's people like saying, I'll go back over, there's no point in staying here, like, do you know what I mean?
Would you have made enough money though to support everybody back home?
I wouldn't have had the mental capacity to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't possibly, after what had happened, I couldn't regulate the emotions that had just happened. It was just a nightmare. Like, I couldn't believe it, what happened. So
how do
for
you
me,
process something like that?
how do you process that, you know? So even when I did stay, because obviously I did stay, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The choices then were to join a gang, you know what I mean? And that enabled me to put money on, to put food on the table.
Yeah.
Obviously then, the reason why I sort of got into the gang was because I was taking drugs to regulate my emotions. That was my new cope mechanism. So
did you just start when you moved home, like, or would you had a bit of a habit before you went away?
Never had a habit. No, I was teetotal. Like, I
Yeah.
never drink, never done any drugs. I had my mindset on this dream, and that was it. And nothing was getting in the way of it. This was my tool, so I didn't need anything outside of that. You know, this gave me the confidence, gave me self-belief, gave me everything football did. It was the love of my life. So when I lost that then, to regulate that emotion of not only losing that, but losing me both parents, then I started taking drugs then for a coping mechanism. Drink, drugs, smoking, weed. That was an escapism for me, you know, to get away from them emotions, them feelings. And then that just spiraled then. The more I took drugs, the more I needed drugs. Then the more risks I took. I was holding stuff for people. I was carrying stuff around, guns, you name it. I was carrying it, dropping it off. And then before I knew, then I was selling it, because then I had access to it at all times. And when you're selling it, then all you're doing is feeding your habit. And then you're creating a bigger habit, because when you sell it, you use too much, you go over the threshold of what you owe. So then you need more, then you need bigger amounts. Before you know, you're in deep shit. And things spoil out of control. But because I hated all adults because of what had happened, I had a vengeance against adults.
Okay.
I was aggressive.
Yeah.
And when you're in a gang, or when you're in that sort of life, the more aggressive you are, the more what would you say? The more you achieve your goals, if you like to put it that way. But the better you are at that job, do you know what I mean?
Collecting money, essentially, is it?
Yeah, collecting money and selling drugs.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you become an asset to people then.
Yeah.
People see he doesn't take shit, get him on board. Someone bigger in the area then will get you on board, because they know you'll get the money in quick, and no one will rip you off or that, you know.
There's a status to that though as well, isn't there? Like when you're younger and you're a bit more naive, you know, you are in the same way you're good at football, you're probably getting a bit of praise and recognition for it as well. In hindsight now, it's obviously not what you want, but when you're younger, you probably don't see that. You see the positive praise that you're getting for it.
But it's like it was like the soccer as well. I had this conversation with someone there recently. I was getting affirmations from the soccer that I wasn't getting at home.
Yeah.
So the praises I was getting there, I was liking, and I was doing better to get more praises.
Yeah.
And then when I went from that then into the crime world, it was the same. People going, oh, people blowing smoke up your arse, trying to be friends with you. And I was loving that attention. So you do more stuff to get more attention. Then when you're in with the right people, then, you know, opportunities present, you know, and you can get yourself into big trouble there. But
you use the word friends there. Like, can you make genuine friends in that sort of life or that industry?
No, you can't. I've met a lot of people through that industry.
Yeah.
And I haven't got one person that I talk to.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not one. Now, I would be a very introvert person anyway.
Yeah.
I am a very introvert person. I do like my own company, and I don't really have too many friends. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's down to growing up and that childhood trauma of not trusting people.
Yeah.
So I don't really get close to too many people.
Yeah.
Sort of, it's something that I'm still working on. Do you know what I mean? I try and befriend people, but then I'll just sort of give up on it and go, it's not that I don't want it, it's just I don't have them tools inside me to continue on with a good relationship. So it's something definitely I need to keep working on. But no, the answer to your question is you will not make friends in that. Everyone is friends with you for a reason. Yeah. You know, and if you're not doing, so when I pulled out of the gang, then once you're no longer an asset, you're no longer a friend.
Okay, all right.
You know?
You're not good to them anymore. No. Yeah. And these people, like, would you've known these growing up? Were they in the neighborhood, or how? Like, when the initial conversation, can you remember to go and kind of join a gang? Can you remember that? Did you have to go? Like, obviously, you don't name names, but you have to go and meet someone or have a chat, or how does it start? Like,
it starts by you putting the work in, and then your name going around, right? That you're good for it, and then you go and meet the right person, and then you tell them, "Look, I'm looking for a bit of work. You know, I'm good for it." You might have a bit of cash. Say, "Look, I'll buy it off you cash." You know what I mean? And that's how you get in. Then you get in small. Then once you start build a relationship and you build a trust, once you're making the money, you're going to be an asset to them. They're going to want you on board. Do you know? And they're clever enough, because I was then on that other side of it as well when people were coming to me. You know what I mean? So they're clever enough. They look into you. They look into your background. They'll give you something small and see how quick you can pay. You know what I mean? So they play it.
And can you remember that first conversation when you decided you were going to go this route? Like, can you remember how you felt going to approach the person you had to approach? Like, did you have a gut feeling this is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do? Can you remember how you were feeling at the time?
I was excited, being honest with you. I was excited that, you know, if I get in here, one, I can make a lot of money. Two, I can make what I thought was friends. And I can get a status within my area. Yeah. So if anyone has any hassle with me, no longer will they have any hassle. Yeah. Because once you know I'm in this crew, no one will say aren't you. So it was like a superior ego thing. So I went up there excited, thinking, right, this is an opportunity now. If I get in here, I'll be laughing. But like, we'll come back.
Well, we get to that in a minute. Like, when you were there, like, it essentially, did it serve the purpose for you? Because again, like, your fuel, it's not, you mentioned your ego there, and that is, we all have an ego. It's part of everything that we're doing, you know. But the reality is, you did have 4 young mouths to feed as well. Did it help you do that? Like,
no, didn't. To be honest with you, I didn't do enough for my brothers and sisters when I grew up. I didn't do enough of them. I had this famine mindset, it's called, because I know from doing work that when I got money, I used to keep it and save it. Because I had nothing growing up, and because I lost so much, I would keep it to myself. So very little I would give out. You know what I mean? So I would be lying if I said I'd done everything. I didn't. My sister had done 99% of the work. I was just there for protection, and I thought that was enough. But I didn't do enough for them. That's me being honest with that. But the work I done then, I was told it's a famine mindset. Because if I had €90, I'd want 100. Do you know what I mean? If I had €900, I want €1,000, and I'd have to keep it at that. So I wasn't the type of person that I was sharing. You know what I mean?
But again, you're still a boy at this stage. Like, you know, you can't be overly harsh on yourself.
But the initial idea was to take up doing that to provide for my family, my brothers and sisters. But I didn't. Do you know what I mean? I didn't do it as much as I could have done it. You know, so I failed in that sense. Now I did offer them. I did make sure they were looked after and protection wise. But that's about all.
And like, as they were growing up then, like, what were the roles that you would have had at home? Like, were you there making sure they went to school and things like that? Were you trying to keep, were you conscious you didn't want them to go down the same road as you? Or
Yeah, you were like conscious you didn't want to go down the same road as you, like, but because I was caught up so caught up in this world, your whole mindset changes.
Yeah.
Where like you're gone, like education and all is nothing. Do you know what I mean? You're like, you don't even, it doesn't influence you anymore. You don't care about education, you don't care about work, so you're not projecting them good traits onto the people that are coming behind you. You know what I mean? You're not giving them the good inspiration of, and as well as that, especially in deprived areas, if you're robbing cars or you're selling drugs and you're trying to tell another kid not to do something and you're doing it, they know and they'll pull you on your bullshit.
They do what they see, you know what they
Like dead wild, like they're like, fuck off. You know what I mean?
Was that part for you maybe growing up as well? You like that?
Yeah, absolutely. My dad would be telling me not to do things. Stand there with a joint, rolling joints. Don't be smoking hash, you know, or drinking, and don't drink. It's not good for you. And trying to tell you, you know, trying to give you good advice.
Yeah.
But you can't give good advice if you can't take your own advice.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you know? So it's a bit of a letdown in that sense.
Look, but it's like we're all guilty of it as fathers in some degree, you know, like again, like something I in my world, I talk to the guys in the gym all the time. I often get requests like, you might get a parent ring you who is concerned about their child maybe gaining a bit of weight and stuff like that. And the question I always ask is like, well, do you do any exercise yourself? Do you go to the gym?
Yeah.
So I said, like, being a fit parent is one of the best gifts you can give your kid because they see you going to the gym on a regular basis or going for a run or whatever it is you're into. It's so powerful because I said telling your kids to eat healthy when you're eating crap and then telling them to exercise when you're not doing anything, you know, like it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately, you know. So just in a different set of circumstances. But again, I said we all have our shortcomings as fathers, like if we're honest, you know. And again, it just depends what circumstances we're in. And obviously, I was just keen to touch on this because, like, it's very hard. A lot of people who grow up, we all have some sort of trauma as we grow up as kids. It's very rare someone has the perfect childhood, but it's a particularly extreme set of circumstances, and it's kind of a story you don't hear often. Like often you hear the guys go to England and they pursue their dream, and usually the worst case scenario is it doesn't work out or there's an injury and they come home, and like that's incredibly tough to take as it is. But for the circumstances you went into in the space of a few months there, like how could anybody try and wrap their head around? Like I'm 35 now, and if I was thrown into those sort of circumstances, I don't know how I'd cope. Never mind being 16 or 17. Yeah. With regards, like we've touched on a lot there. Like you've kind of summarized really well where you're at that point in your life. How many years were you involved in this world before it eventually kind of caught up with you and you ended up going to prison?
So about 16 I started, and I think it was 32 when I was my prison sentence.
Yeah.
That was 2014. 2012.
Had you a couple of run-ins in and out before then, a few close calls and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, we've been constantly like looked at by the guards, you know what I mean? All the time. Like you drive up the road, you get stopped and searched. You know, it was a constant thing every day. You'd be watching, you know what I mean? Trying to dodge this and that, and yeah, it's a constant battle with the guards when you're up to no good, you know. And that goes to show they're doing their job, like. Because I only had to talk there last week at a conference, in front of the guards and judges and IPS and that. And when I stopped in 2016, guards never came near me.
Yeah, okay,
so it just proved they were doing their job, you know. Yeah. But yeah, like would have had many run-ins with guards, you know what I mean?
Can we talk about them? What eventually got you sent to prison?
Yeah, so there's drugs found in the house. We had an apartment. Actually, had two apartments, and there was drugs in one of the apartments. And the guards were obviously surveilling us, and they raided the apartment and found the drugs in the house. So there was like 65,000 euro worth of drugs. So I got 3 years suspended for that originally, and then the night I got the 3 years suspended, that night I got chased, thrown away some cocaine, got caught, but the guard had picked her up and then put it in my pocket, and I got 2 years for that. Okay, right. Because it was reactivated.
Yeah, that was like your personal use, was it?
Yeah, it was personal use. It was in the Blackout nightclub, actually. And that was just personal use. But look, I got 2 years for that. I remember sitting the first night in prison. I remember sitting there crying. Not crying because of the fear of going to prison, crying because I'd done what my father had done. Yeah. And I cursed my dad when he done that. I was like, fucking look what you've done to us, look where you've left us. And here's me repeating history, doing the same thing on my kids, what he'd done.
Had you got your own kids at this stage?
Yeah, I had 4 kids at this stage.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
As well as your 4 younger siblings as well.
Yeah, well, I'd moved out at that stage. Like I was living in my own house at that stage, you know what I mean? But like I just done the same thing.
Yeah.
I rewrote history, and I just felt like a hypocrite.
Mm.
I felt that small. I was like, you're a fucking hypocrite.
Mm.
You slagged him for years and you cursed him. You've done the same thing. So, you know, that seed planted in my head then. Then obviously prison, look, it's not obviously not a good place to be. I'm stating the obvious. But there's two ways you can go in prison. You can educate yourself, play the guitar, go to the gym, or you can go on the tablets, go to the yard, go to the rec room. So there's two routes in prison.
Okay.
Obviously, not obviously.
Did you get pressurised to go to one or the other, or were you kind of left alone when you went in? Like,
no, you don't really. It's not really as bad as people think. You go in, but people will play it. Will try and fucking, you know, they'll come up to you and you have to have a bit of poker face. You have to have a bit about yourself. They'll come in and suss you out straight away the minute you land on the landing. They'll come in, try and come into your cell. You know what I mean? They'll suss you out to see you're weak, see you're strong. So you need to have a little bit about you going in there. Or they'll run all over you. They will take advantage of you. If they see someone weak, they'll find a route or a way to utilise that weakness to benefit them and what they need in their life. Absolutely, they'll do that. They'll buy and sell you. But I had good street sense, I had good street smarts. I was coming from a gang that was fairly known. So I didn't have any hassle, to be honest with you. Do you know what I mean? It was grand. And I chose then to go to the gym, education, done my junior cert, play the guitar, bit of language, stuff like that. Just wanted to move through the system as quick as I could and get out.
before you were, say, like you mentioned there, like when you got caught, you were in the nightclub. Like, say if I didn't know you and I bumped into you in the nightclub, like what sort of person were you back then? Like,
I punched the hell out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was aggressive.
Yeah.
Because all that trauma was still inside me. And I hated adults. Adults had let me down. In my world, adults had let me down. They've taken my dream away from me and they've left me in this tunnel with no light. And I'm on my own here. So as far as I was concerned, adults just didn't exist in my world. So when someone bumped on me, that was an invitation for me to punch that off them and vent that negativity towards them. You know, that's the person I was. Yeah, I was very aggressive, like, and loved being aggressive. Like, loved. I used to say to myself, I haven't been in a fight in a week. That's, you know, you daily go out looking for a fight.
Yeah.
Right, haven't been in a fight in a week. Who's getting it tonight?
Yeah.
That's the attitude.
Yeah.
Terrible, like, but you know, that was the attitude.
But the business, quote unquote, you were in, though, it probably served you well in a sense to have that rep, and like, again, it was probably part of it. Like,
absolutely,
you know?
yeah, because to be successful in that business, in that world, you have to be aggressive.
Yeah.
And you have to be more aggressive than the other person coming up before or after you, because if they see a weakness, you know, they'll try and edge in. So you have to be very aggressive.
Yeah. Okay. And then, like, in prison, then you said you mentioned the gym was a big part of it. Like, were you training before you went into prison? Like, was exercise or gym part of your daily routine? Did you do a bit of that? Or
yeah, look, I would have been touching in and out of gyms. You know what I mean? I used to like going down, do a workout and go for a sauna. And it was more, we used to go down on a Friday or something. You go down and do a sauna, do a bit of pumping the arms, dial yourself up, and then you're out in the rip for the weekend. And then come Monday, then you'll be back down, you have a sauna to try and get all the shit out of you, you know? So it wasn't really as a tool. I didn't really use it as a tool. I sort of used it as somewhere to go and chill out and have a wash.
Okay. Because
most of the time you'd be thrown out of your house.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In that world.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't go back to your house depending on who you're fighting with that weekend.
Okay, yeah.
So you'd be washing yourself in either hotels or the gyms. So yeah, I wouldn't have used it as a tool. It was more as a recreation.
Just on that point, so if you were like, if you had a fight with someone, you'd be worried they'd come chase you down after. Is that more what you're saying?
Depending on who it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you had an argument with someone that was a bit of a head, you wouldn't go back to your house.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give it a few days to see what comes up.
Yeah.
You know, and usually something would come up. You'd get feedback from someone and say, there's only an argument there. No, there's something going to happen here. Watch your back.
Yeah.
Or you'd ring them and say, what's happening? You know what I mean?
Right.
So you'd have to give it a few days, let it stew and see what comes back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See what comes through the cracks.
Yeah.
Because you usually hear, you know?
Yeah. It's a small world, I'd say.
Small world, that world, yeah.
But that's terrifying, like, especially when you've like four young ones at home, like that.
Yeah.
You're trying to protect it from all this as well. It's really, really tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then, so like in prison, you said you had 2 years, yeah? Where'd you go to?
Went to Joy.
Yeah.
Joy, yeah.
And like, you said in some ways it wasn't as bad as people made out with regards, like, you were left alone. But again, that, as you said, you were able to look after yourself. And then also then you probably had a bit of protection from the gang you were with as well. What, like, Can you describe what the environment is like? There was a great, we had Rory Stories on a podcast here last year, and I know you mentioned your pals with him as well. He did a great documentary on it. It was a really good insight into what it was like himself, and Philly McMahon did it. But what was your kind of experience of it, or how could you describe what it was like as a place, as an environment?
I was on that. I done the documentary with them. An amazing documentary that was. Went very well. Yeah. So I played the match in Crow Park, and I went down and gave a couple of talks. Yeah. As part of that documentary. Prison, I tell you what it's like. Do you ever throw an aerosol can into in a fire?
Right.
In Halloween. Yeah. And you're like, well, you don't know when it's going to go off. Yeah. Well, that's my own joy. Yeah. Because at any minute someone can be chopped up. Yeah. Right in front of your eyes. Or any minute someone will just grab you. Or something always escalates. Yeah. Whether it's an officer getting hit, whether it's someone getting fouled by officers, it's always something happening. There's always someone gehooting and fucking sleeving someone. So it's like that. It's like throwing an aerosol can into a fire. Okay. Just ready to go at any time.
But this was kind of a natural habitat for you in a way, was it?
I loved chaos. Yeah. Yeah. So my world was chaos and I loved it. So when I went in there, I actually felt I got a buzz out of that. It actually filled my empty hole. Yeah. So when you get trauma, there's an itch there that always needs to be scratched. So this was scratching my itch. This buzz of chaos was actually filling me. Okay. You know what I mean? So I was actually comfortable in there. Yeah. It was nice for me.
The services then, you said you went on, you studied some music, you went to the gym as well, and then you mentioned one other thing that you got involved in.
I was playing guitar, done junior cert.
Oh, you did your education as well?
Yeah. And then I was doing a bit of Spanish lessons as well.
Yeah, so how did the services line up? Because you hear mixed reports about the services that prisoners have access to. How was it? It seems like there was a few bits there to do, but was it enough?
At the time I was there, it wasn't too bad. Because there was less prisoners there at the time I was there. Yeah. But the psychology...
What year was this? Sorry, just for
2013. Okay. The psychology and the counselling. I went and asked for counselling about 20 times, and I got it after 6 months. Okay. And I only got 2 sessions.
Right.
When a man... Us men are brutal at putting our hands over help. Yeah. We're brutal, right? Yeah. So when we do, we should be given the option, or the opportunity to avail of a service, you know what I mean? And in there, I suppose when you get locked up, the punishment is you lose your freedom. But you don't. You lose a lot more than that. And they're supposed to, by law, reform you and give you the opportunity to reform. i.e. give you the education, give you the social, if you need psychology, if you need counselling, whatever you need, AA, drugs, rehabilitation, whatever you need, they're supposed to offer you that. That's your human right to access them services. And there's an 18-month waiting list. At present, there's an 18-month waiting list for all them services, and only 40% can avail of education. Okay, yeah. The gyms are never opened. Yeah. There's not enough officers per head, so the gyms are never opened. So not only do you not have services, now you don't have the tools and the cope mechanisms that these lads need to vent through whilst they're waiting on services. 70 or 80% of people go into prison are in there for less than 18 months. So they're never going to be reformed. Yeah. So it's a revolving door all the time. We wonder why. Yeah. And if we offer these service to these people who need this help, what we're doing is we're in hindsight saving people outside in the community, in their society. Because these people are getting out, they're vent up aggression because of where they're coming from. They're like a volcano waiting to go off. When they come out, they're taking drugs and then they're hurting people. Because hurt people. Yeah. So we're doing them no favours. We're actually making them worse when they go in there.
What are the services you think? Is it counselling that they really is the biggest thing? Working with psychologists, where is the biggest value, do you think, that if the prison service was to start offering more, what's the biggest benefit, or where should they focus most on?
For me, it's the power of sport. Okay. Right, and I'll tell you why. Because the power of sport gives you a healthy mindset. It makes you strong, gives you courage, gives you power. And you win that power back within yourself to then make the right decision and understand, I need a bit of counselling. If you don't have strength and power, it's very hard to make that decision to go and get counselling. I think it's very difficult for a weak person to make that such a big decision to get counselling. You know, as I said, we're as men, we're brutal at reaching out for help as it is. But when you do a sport and you know yourself and you go to the gym and you continuously go to the gym, you start eating better, everything else sort of falls in. You get that strength back within yourself, and then you'll make the right decisions. You know, and that's what happened myself. Once I took up the sport, I got that strength. Then I started to see other things, still traits that were there for me going, that's not right. Shouldn't be doing that. How am I going to address that? Well, that's trauma. So I need help around that. You know, you get talking to people, say, why don't you go for a bit of counselling? And that's where it was for me. Once I had that strength, I made the right decisions.
Okay, so when you came out of prison, then like were you done and dusted? Then how did it go when you came out?
No, when I came out, I went back to the gang.
Okay,
Because when I was in there, I had no self-belief.
yeah.
And I thought, this is it. I'm in prison now. Inevitably, I'm marked by society. I'll never get an opportunity in a job again. I'll never get an opportunity to do pretty much anything.
Was there any scheme or any support system there to try and link you in with some work when you come out? Was there anything like that?
There's a probation. So I went for probation, right? And I wanted to do something else outside of what they had. So they had a scope of courses that you can do. Again, rules for people in prison or with trauma doesn't work. So I wanted to be a coach, do something around coaching. Nothing on that sheet of paper had coaching. I said, I want to do coaching. Well, we don't have course for coaching. So, you know, the opportunities weren't there for me. They had a set amount of opportunities and like I didn't want to do any of them.
What sort of stuff was it? Like,
Just like, I mean, you could have went to college, done psychology, could have, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Go to college, read and writing, you know, just courses like, could have been a fitness instructor. But nothing sort of on a niche. Do you know what I mean? I wanted to coach people because when I was in prison, I was doing like a running program with lads in there, doing 10Ks and all that. So I got a buzz out of that. So I said, when I get out, I'll try and do a bit of coaching, one-on-ones or whatever. But he had nothing.
As
for
in
that.
fitness coaching?
Yeah. Around running, like. So there was nothing around that. And there's no funding. So I just gave up on that. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't for me. But then I went back to the gang then. Just went straight back into the gang. It's exactly what I was doing before I got locked up. And that was it. Yeah, gave up on life. I said, that's it. That's me forever now. I'm going to continue being a drug dealer. I'm going to continue making money this way. I'm going to continue being a thorn in society, a thorn in the guards. And I'm going to continue making money this way for the rest of my life.
How long more did you continue after you came out of prison?
So, a couple of things happened. One, I had a good friend of mine. My son was due then in October 2016.
Yeah.
And I remember going off to Amsterdam with a mate of mine talking about his son. He had a son. My son was due. We were talking about that. And just little traits, you know, going camping.
Was he going to be your first child? Or
yeah, no, my first boy.
Okay.
Yeah. So my friend overdosed 2 weeks later. He died. So I remember I went to the funeral home. I was sitting there in the funeral home. And I remember his son going up to the coffin. And I'm sitting here watching this. And all the son wanted was his love and his dad, and that was it. And see what our theory was getting into gangs was that we're providing for a family.
That was your justification for what you were doing,
Yeah, justified. I'm providing for my family. I'm giving them what they need, college, money, whatever. But the kid didn't want any of that. He just wanted his dad to play with him. And I remember sitting there going, if I continue the route I'm going on, my son is born, one day he might walk up to my coffin. That could happen. That's a possible thing to happen in that life. So I said to myself, if I continue on that, I'm evil. Something wrong with me. If I can't learn from this, such a big thing, like to say, like I'll never forget it. There's something wrong with me. So that seed planted. Then about 2 or 3 weeks after that, then I was coming out of a party and me and another lad in the car got chased by a hit squad. So lads in the car with guns.
Right.
Chased up the N32 there, not far from here.
Yeah.
And what saved us was the guard had a checkpoint. The car had flipped. I don't know anything about that, but the car just flipped and the guard had a checkpoint and we went through the checkpoint and they couldn't. And that saved our lives.
Yeah, Jesus, yeah, that's a close call.
So that was me, after seeing that and then that happening, right? There's two things. I was like, there's a fucking sign. Have I ever seen one, right? And then my son Ross was born in October. And I remember holding him and going, I'm gonna be your hero. I didn't know how, didn't know what I was gonna do, but as you said earlier about the kid's mother ringing you and you saying, well, do you eat well? Do you go to the gym, right? So that was my mindset. Well, how do I go about that? Well, I tell you what, I need to buck up. I need to change my traits. I need to change what I'm doing in order for me to be his hero. I have to set an example here. So I set about it. I had to get out of the gang. I had to pay off a big bill. Got out of the gang. Was still friendly with them because, you know, people like that get paranoid.
I was going to say, is it as easy as that just to pay your way out? Because obviously, if you're making money for other people, they're probably reluctant to see you go. And then I'm sure you have information as well and stuff as well that people be a bit sensitive about.
Like,
Is it like when you joined, is it a conversation to a certain person, or like how do you go about getting
it
out
was
of
sort of a
lifestyle?
little bit of a falling out, but like there was money owed. I owed money, and once I could pay that bill, then I had no attachment
Okay.
in that sense.
Yeah.
So that's your first protocol. Once you attach yourself from anyone knocking on your door going, you owe this, that's the first thing you need to do. Because once that's not there, they'll find it hard to find something to knock on your door. You know what I mean? And I was probably the most aggressive in that gang.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So if someone knocked on my door looking for something that I didn't know, I'd just tell them to fuck off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would have been point blank. So yeah, that's what I done. I paid the bill. But I still, as I said, I still remained friendly. And then someone else filled my void. And then slowly but surely I popped out. Then I met my mate, Mick Arkeo. He was doing triathlon. Met the right people at the right time.
Yeah.
And I went to watch him in October 2016 doing an Ironman in Barcelona. And I said, Jez, maybe I could do that. It's just the right time.
And apart from like, if it was called it career-wise, like what about your own lifestyle? Like were you still going pubs at night time and clubbing and stuff like that? Did you pull away from that sort of stuff as well?
Stopped everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to be willing to give up everything. I remember saying to myself, I need to have nothing here. I need to peel this right back and be literally on the dole and start fresh. So I had to go right back to basics.
What age were you here when you...
I think it was 32 at this stage.
Yeah, like it's a big step like to do, because again, as you said, like when you're in your 30s, you know, you have young kids, you're ultimately, you have to provide and put food on the table. So I'm sure there is a big part in your head still saying, no, you need to keep doing this, you know.
But for me, it was life and death.
Yeah.
After the two things I'd seen with me mate, right? And after getting chased, I said, sure, look, if I die, I'll have nothing. And I'll put my kids through that.
Yeah.
So that was a scare for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I was like, I'd rather have nothing and struggle through life than risk that.
Yeah.
And be dead.
Yeah.
So that was where my mind was at.
That's good logic, to be fair. Like,
you know, that's how I attacked it, I suppose. Yeah. And then look, I asked Mick to coach me, and he coached me in 2017. An Ironman.
What appealed to you about the Ironman? Because obviously, like, it's fucking grueling to put it mildly.
Nothing. It wasn't about the Ironman.
Yeah.
It was me just having a new purpose.
Yeah.
It was me just attaching myself and like-minded people.
Were you tempted to look at football again? Because obviously it was a big part when you were younger. Or were you a bit bitter? What was your attitude towards football, the fact it got taken away from
I hate football.
Yeah.
And it killed me that I hate football.
Yeah.
I still to this day don't like it.
Yeah.
Like I don't really talk about that much. That's like a bit of a touchy subject with me, you know? Like I've talked about it there a while ago and I got a bit upset actually because I know now what I've achieved now in my life in such short time. I know I would have been playing for Ireland at some stage.
Yeah.
I know how good I am. I know that I'm just the type of person, if I take up something, I leave no stone unturned. I go to the extreme level of contacting dietitians, physios. Like I will go and knock on every door in every sport I've been in to be the best. So I know that would have been always my mindset. That's just who I am, generically, or whatever way you look at it. I don't know where it comes from because
I was just going to ask you.
No
where
one
you think
before
it
me
came from, yeah.
has that sort of genetics. You know what I mean? But I have that mindset that if you tell me if I get into something tomorrow, high rocks say, I'll want to be the best if I like it.
Yeah.
So it hurts me when I think of how far I could have went because I know I could have represented Ireland.
Did you follow any careers? Was there anybody maybe at Dunfermline or that you played at the Candy Cups with that you seen go on? Like, did you watch anybody from afar who would have been similar to yourself?
But Robbie Keane would have been.
Yeah.
You know, what's that other lad as well from in town? There's another lad that actually used to play with Shelbourne with.
Was it Wes Hewland?
Wes Hewland, yeah. I played with Wesо.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With shells and that.
Yeah.
And he was class, like.
Yeah.
But I would have been up there with Weso at that young age, you know what I mean? But obviously, look, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But it does get to me.
See, no, it was just football wasn't an option.
No, it was just like that was it. Like I just gave up on it. Or you had no choice but to just park it and bury it and put it underneath that trapdoor.
Would you have even watched it like when you were in your 20s and stuff?
Not
going to
really.
the pub
Like,
watching it, no?
Wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
As I said, it like triggered me.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like a trigger to me. If I seen something playing football, I'd be like, if I seen Weso playing, like I'd be like, not that I would always be happy for
I know
the success,
what you mean, but it just
reminded me of stuff, yeah. So yeah.
No, fair enough. And then with the Ironman, then you said it was just more about learning the skill of like when you thought could you swim? Did you do any swimming before?
No,
that's a big thing. Like obviously for Ironman.
Yeah, couldn't swim.
Whatever about running a marathon. What's the cycle? 180 kilometers? Is it?
It's 3.8 swim, 180k in a full marathon.
All
Yeah,
back to back.
But it wasn't about the triathlon. It wasn't about the Ironman. It's just I met the right person at the right time.
Yeah.
I was just looking for a purpose.
Yeah.
And I happened to be a good friend of mine, and I happened to just come into his world. And I felt, you know what?
Did you just know him from growing up around?
Yeah, played soccer with Mick for a long time, hung around with him for a long time. So he's a good mate of mine, you know. So yeah, I just fell into it at the right time. And as I said, I didn't know anything about triathlon. I didn't know it was a swim, bike, run. Knew nothing. I just wanted direction. I needed something to hang on to and something. And again, I was replacing that. I was replacing the crutches that I had before. So I was using drink and drugs to stem my trauma. And now I just found something new. You know, I was venting, I suppose, I needed a new coping mechanism. And I was using this as a new coping mechanism.
Would you find it hard, like, to switch off and relax and kind of sit at home? Like, is that something that you struggle with?
Yeah. Even now, yeah.
Yeah. I'm the same, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Like I'm a doer. Like I got up this morning and like do me stretching, do a bit of work on online. Then I'll do me stretching routine. Then I'll, you know, normally I'll do a run or something. Obviously, at the minute I'm out with the foot, but yeah, I'd like get a lot of stuff done before 8 o'clock. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of stuff done. Really best part of my day. You know what I mean?
Does that just calm you then for the rest of the day, or what's the logic?
I just like getting up and getting things done. Yeah, it does calm me. I saw it wins the day for me. It gives me power in my day, you know. So I go, right, I have my shit together now. It helps me face the day better, I think. Gives me a little bit of power in my day, yeah. But I think getting up early does do that, you know.
And with you threw yourself into the Ironman training, and like obviously, how many Ironmans have you done since?
Oh God,
so
knows.
far.
About 15 full Ironman, probably.
That's all across the world as well,
Yeah,
not just
I've done all the toughest in the world. Yes, like I mean,
where's the toughest one you've done?
Toughest one as well. Toughest one is Lanzarote.
Just the heat and the
3
wind.
times. Heat, wind, and hills.
Okay,
yeah.
I was only there last week, but I wasn't doing an Ironman. I was relaxed with the family.
I've done Wales, done Switzerland, Cork, and I've done Lanzarote 3 times.
Yeah, cool, yeah.
Because every time I've done Lanzarote, I'd knocked the bollocks out, so I went back again and again.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You know, because I like that. I like the pain of it.
Okay.
I love the chaos of it, you know.
You like the pain of it?
Yeah, I love pain. Like I loved physical pain. And I loved mental pain as well. Like.
Well, it's a good kind of lead in, because like you've obviously gotten through yourself into the Ironmans, but you said you did a lot of counselling as well to kind of figure out like your childhood and the path you take. And what were the kind of things you discussed? Like how long, like with counselling, because there's a lot of guys listening to this who maybe be tempted. Like I've done it myself and taken huge value from it, and I always try and encourage people, because usually if someone's asking or they're saying they're thinking about it, it's usually a telltale sign that they should definitely do it, you know. What was the counselling journey, without getting too personal, because just to get an idea, like how many, was it a couple of months you did? Was it years? Was it, how much work was involved there?
I'll have to go back a bit into the Ironman first. So I was using the training as a tool.
Yeah.
And I had a hold of me. I didn't have a hold of the training. So the training was like a medicine for me.
Yeah.
That was my new cope mechanism. And I would train 3 times a day, every day.
Okay.
So this was my new medicine, and I had a hold of me. And so within 22 months, I was a professional athlete from someone who couldn't swim.
How were you professional?
So to get a professional license, you have to go under sub 930.
Okay.
And then you become an Irish professional athlete.
Yeah.
And to roll it back then, so I done my first Ironman and I enjoyed it so much. Then I done Lanzarote, which is the toughest in the world. And at the end of that, someone said, geez, you could go pro.
Yeah.
So that little kid, when I was a kid, came back to me and said, Jesus, maybe you could.
Who's paying your wage then when you become a pro? How does it work to make you a pro?
You don't. You get sponsorships.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's lots of sponsorships.
But that's up to you to go and get that.
Yeah. Plus then I got online, then people wanted to work with me because I was pro.
Yeah.
But to roll a little bit back, that little kid came back to me and I said, Jesus, look, this now is in my hands.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're a kid, you know, you need support from other people.
Yeah, I get you, yeah.
So that was taken from me, I felt, as a kid.
Yeah.
This was now in my hands. So I took this on, and to be a pro was sub 930. And I remember I went to Barcelona 22 months after I took up the sport, and I'd done a 9:25.
In 22 months just from starting out? Like,
I couldn't swim.
That's unheard of, I'd imagine, yeah.
But what I was using that as a cope mechanism.
Yeah.
And the measure of my success is the measure of my hurt.
Yeah.
You know, that's how much I needed the sport. That's how much trauma I had.
You mentioned now you have a foot injury. What would you have been like back then if you picked up the same foot injury you have now? Would it killed you?
I'd have ploughed on. I broke my neck and raced 2 races out. And that's how I knew I needed help.
Yeah.
Because I knew that I couldn't not train. I couldn't not race.
Yeah.
Because I needed this in my life.
Yeah.
This was taking my life over. This was controlling me.
Yeah.
You know, and I knew that was dangerous.
It's funny because to the outside, to people looking at you, they go, geez, fair play to him, he's turned his life around. Look how, I'm sure you're getting lots of encouragement and praise because it looks like you're doing a good thing. But deep down, you know, this is actually not healthy. Just it's kind of, as you said, it's taken over here.
Yeah, because when I became pro, as you said, everyone thinks, he's pro now, he's great, and everything's cool.
Yeah.
But I still had that void.
Yeah.
I wasn't proud of myself. I wasn't happy. I was still empty because I had this ball of an emptiness inside.
Did you think turning pro was going to fill that void? Was that in your head, do you think? Or
I was looking for that confidence and that self-worth, and I just wasn't getting it. And I was chasing that, you know, but I was chasing the wrong thing. And I knew it would never stop. You know what I mean? This was not going to fix me. You know, as I said, this gives you the strength and the power to then get the right help.
Going back to what you said earlier.
And that's exactly what it done to me. It gave me the right, and it opened my eyes up to me doing wrong things because I wanted to change everything. But I was still doing other things in my past life, coming back in, taking drugs every now and again, every few months.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Even while you were doing the Ironman?
Yes. Well, not that much, to be honest with you, but like it was in my head. I wanted to go on the drink, wanted to go on the rip again. Yeah. So, but I was still doing things that I shouldn't be doing, like, you know, just going out and being with other people or whatever. Stuff that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
That's wrong. Do you know what I mean? So I knew that's not right. You know, I'm supposed to be changing my life here, and it can't be just around sport. It has to be everything. If you want to be a complete man, you gotta go after all your traits. You know what I mean? So that's when I started doing the counselling, and that was the toughest thing. Like overall, the Ironman and overall, the toughest Ironman in the world is Lanzarote. Putting the work into the counselling and getting after my trauma was the toughest thing I've ever done in my life, and the hardest thing I've ever done. But they're most rewarding.
Okay, and how long a journey? Like, are you still doing counselling now, or
no? I've done it for about 6 years or something.
Wow, yeah, it's a
long time.
Long journey, yeah.
Now, I done it continuously every week.
Yeah.
But
that was off your own back, decided to go and do it, yeah.
Off my own back. And I paid for myself because I've heard the service is giving you 10 weeks. I needed years.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I went to a counselor, he goes, you're going to be here for a long time.
Okay,
You know?
How did you feel when he said that to you?
I was like, he's looking for money on me. You know, you initially think, he's trying to lead and get a few bob here, but I did need all that work, you know. And like, I was peeling back the onion, the layers of the onion, and I got to the core. The core was the last bit that I wouldn't face, you know. And I was justifying it in my head that was okay, because it was such a tough thing to actually talk about that. And that was the last final piece. And I was like, I remember saying to the counsellor, I'm finished, I'm done. Like, and he's like, you're not. And I was like, I am. Like, I mean, I don't feel I've anything else to talk about. And he goes, you're not done. Like, you know, he knows. And I'm like trying to bullshit him. But I was trying to justify it in my head because subconsciously this was such a big thing for me to face.
What could he see in you that made him realise that there was more to what you were saying? Like, could he see in was it like in your body language, in the way you were talking? Like, how did he know that the
way I was talking? Because I still didn't love adults. I still had an empty void that wasn't being filled. You know what I mean? So we needed to fill that. So he knew by my attitude, he knew by the relationships I was still having and the traits I was still portraying that I still wasn't fixed and wasn't where I should be. So then, I said to him, look, there is something there, but I'm not going to talk about it. I'll tell you about it, but I'm telling you now, I'm not fucking facing it. Like, I'm not facing this. Like, this was huge. And that was abandonment trauma. So I had abandonment trauma. And that was massive. And I had to let go of a tool that I was using for years. And in order to let go of that tool, I'd have to sit on my own and deal with this emotion. You know?
What can I ask you, rather than going into the detail of the specifics, because I don't think it's a fair question, what is the definition of abandonment trauma? Just maybe people who are hearing that phrase for the first time.
So, for instance, I lost my mother and father at the age of 15. So, for me to have a relationship with anyone, I couldn't build a relationship. I didn't trust anyone. So I couldn't, even as I said to you earlier, I'm still working on friends. For me to even have friends is hard because I still have that wall up You know, and breaking it down brick by brick. But the abandonment trauma is just having no trust in anyone. It's just you're on your own here, you know, and it's just that fear factor all the time of building a relationship and being let down. So I had that. And
it's funny because people say like the best marker for your quality of life is the quality of relationships that you have, and like if you're destroying any potential relationship, you know, how are you supposed to have any sort of quality of life then?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'd constantly be testing like my wife and all, and be pushing them away on purpose to see that they love me.
Yeah.
And you do that with every relationship. And like, normal friends ain't going to take that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to like, he's fucking weird.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what was happening.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be testing people, mates and all, and they were just looking at you going, I'm sure you would have been going, he's fucking weird. I didn't even realise I was doing it.
Yeah.
It's just, that was subconsciously in me.
Yeah.
But that was the toughest thing I've ever had to do.
Yeah, okay.
But I remember him saying to me, he goes, look, you can do work on this, and you can have, like I was 38 or something at this stage, I think it was. He said, you can do work on this for the next few years and put the work in. Or you can have 30 or 40 years of an unhappy life and you'll end up on your own. He said, I can guarantee you. He said he had a client there and he was 80 and he did the same stuff as me. And he was lonely and he was living on his own because he went through so many different relationships and sabotaged them based on this, right? Because all you do is test people. Yeah. And how long is a woman going to take that? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you know, you can't do that to them. Like, it's not fair to be doing it. It might take a year of it, but it's not going to take 6, 10, 20 years of it. So that's what this man done. He went through 3 relationships and he's now sitting on his own. He goes, and that's what'll happen. You can put the work in and you can get 20 years of happiness. And I remember that day I drove home and I went into the cemetery. My granddad's in there. My granddad died, I think he was 85 and I was 38 this day. So it was like that's 37 years. Gap, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. If I do 2 or 3 years work on this, I can have like nearly 35 years of happiness or more. You know what I mean? So that was like, that was something that planted with me. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to put the work in.
Just having the image of that 8-year-old man in your head, yeah.
You know, my granddad, and I don't know why I went in. I was driving by the cemetery and I just said, you know what, I'm going to go in. Yeah. And when I went in, it all made sense. It was like a meant to be sign, you know. I looked at it and I see my granddad 85 and I was like, I'm only 38. Do 2 years at least. And you're 40 then, you'll have 45 years of happiness. Yeah. I mean, you can't put money on that. Yeah. So that's when I started, and that was at Christmas time, and I said, no, we'll do it in January, and you know, that'll sound, I hate that. We start Monday. Yeah. And that was at me as well. And I remember saying to him, he goes, look, you're going to keep putting it off. Yeah. You got to face it. And I had to face it, and I had to let go of the tools that I was using at the time. The cushions that I was using was helping me control this. And any trauma, that's what you do. All trauma, you have cushions. You have these crutches that you use all the time because you can't face it, right? So you always have these buffer cushions that you go to. They're your go-to crutches. And I had these crutches that I was using for this. I had to let them cut the tiles.
What sort of things would you use, Ruff, just to give us an example?
So I had to use other people. Like I was having relationships outside of a relationship because I was afraid that my wife was going to let me go. Then I'd have to be with someone else. Yeah. I'd have someone else ready. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So you can't live like that, you know. That's not fair on anyone, you know, especially not the women that are involved. Like, so that's what I was using. So that was my crutch, you know, and what that meant was I had to do the work and trust my wife that she wasn't going to leave me. And for me to do that, I had to put the work in. You know what I mean?
The work was just really difficult conversations sitting there with your counsellor.
But the main work was letting go of the crutches and staying away. Yeah. You know what I mean? And not going back there and putting trust in her, but building your life up as well. Getting that fulfillment back in. Yeah, I'm talking about the trauma and where it stemmed from and trying to get open the trapdoor and really talk about the dark, deep stuff that's down there. So I had to get all that out and talk about it and not go back to the crutch.
And can you remember the feelings then as like you got towards the end of the journey? Like, can you remember?
It took me 14 months nearly. Like, it was very, very tough. Like, even at that, even when I was doing counselling, I was trying other things to quicken up the process. Ayahuasca I tried, Repe, all this other stuff, you know, and nothing was really working for me. You know what I mean? It's just got to put long hours in. You got to put the work in and really focus on yourself. But it's fucking tough, man. It is tough, like. And to be honest with you, I started doing a bit of praying. I met a good lad. We set up the Coolock Run Club. I say myself and a fella called Anthony Brady, but it's community-based. Like, we're just tip of the iceberg of
How many have you got in the club now?
There's 140 active members.
Massive, yeah.
We only opened up in August, but the community and the committee and the coaches have made the club what it is today. So we just come up with an idea and it came to fruition with everyone. Yeah. But I met him and he's a good man and I've seen goodness in him, and I went doing prayer group with him on a Wednesday, and you know, I was starting to get stuff out of that because I was following certain stuff in the Bible, just good stuff. Then in Oberstown where I work with the kids.
That's just going to touch on next, yeah.
So we'll go out there.
So just for anyone listening, Oberstown what's the
campus
definition of it?
It's a detention centre.
For
juveniles in Ireland.
So what age bracket were they?
12 to 18.
Okay. And how did you get involved there? Were you invited out originally to speak to the guys there, yeah?
I was invited out to give 6 talks because there's units out there and you can't bring them all into one room. Okay. So I had to do 6 individual talks, which I done, and it made a huge impact, and the kids were going back and they were going, like, if he can do it and he was in prison, I can do it. So they asked me then, the CEO, Damien Herden out there, asked me, is there anything I can do on a permanent basis? What would you do? And I said, I'd make a gym and give them the power and get them to vent the negative into a positive through the power of sport, like what I done. So they gave me an investment and gave me my own gym. And yeah, I equipped it with rowers, treadmills and watt bikes. And I used a watt bike on a Swift on a telly. It's like PlayStation. So yeah, I do triathlon courses out there, 8-week triathlon courses. Twice a week I get the lads, and then I do a race down on the 8-week on a Saturday. And it's been massive impact. It lowers their cortisone. Like their cortisone levels drop when they go back to the units. They're more relaxed. Yeah. They vented off all the energy. Yeah. Not only that, their schoolwork is better because now they're consistent with stuff. They're setting goals and they're seeing results with me. But then they're making the right choices because they're fit and healthy. Yeah. And
on that platform.
Everything is, they're getting jobs in the campus. They're doing education. They're getting good results.
You mentioned, like, for a long time you didn't trust adults and you didn't like adults. I'm just conscious, you go in, you're essentially an adult going in, trying to get these kids to buy in. Like, they probably have a similar, if they've had a similar upbringing to you, they probably have the similar emotions. Like, how do you get on their level, or how do you get them on your side? Like, what's the approach with, say like, to an ignorant person going in, you might just think these are bold kids.
Yeah.
Like, how do you see beyond that, and how do you get them to achieve better in themselves?
I am them. That's how. And my physical form, I meet them at their level first of all, but I also bring me back to when I was at my lowest point, and I give off that impression. So to work with them kids, you have to have empathy, a lot of empathy, because we don't know what they went through. You know, we can only guess and be only a point of view and an opinion if I told you something. But in my opinion, 99% of them are broke. They come from broken homes. They're very hurt. When they come in initially, you can see they're on their way. They're undernourished. But the opportunities they get in Oberstown is massive. And that's not just in my gym, that's everyone. And the people that work out there, they're next to them, they're top quality people. They really have a lot of empathy, you know what I mean? And they're really good at what they do in their individual jobs. So there's art teachers, there's, woodwork teachers, there's PE, and they're all good with kids, you know what I mean? So the opportunities are brilliant. But you have to have empathy, you have to have an understanding. And they'll tell you out there, like, there's a good crew out there, John, Barry and Keego, and they'll tell you if someone new comes in, just say someone's coming in to do a course, they'll know straight away they won't last, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a different person works out there, you know?
It's not the content, it's just the connection.
Absolutely, it has to be the connection. Yeah. The connection is the first and foremost, because they'll test you and they'll suss you out. Like, I had kids come into my gym, I'm not doing anything. I was like, Grant, don't do anything, chill out. Yeah. Just chat. Yeah. You can't have rules and regulations around these kids.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
You got to connect with them first. First thing you got to do is connect. Friendship. How's things? How are you? You know? Not get on the bleeding bike. You know what I mean? Just turn around and fuck off. Yeah. So you have to first and foremost have a connection. So yeah, when they come into my gym, some of them go, I'm not doing that. No, what? Stay on, chill out. Yeah. We're in 5 minutes and on the bike. Do you know what I mean? So it's a great challenge, but I love that challenge of, them saying no, and then in a nice way, right? I was very manipulative growing up, right? Because I had to manipulate people through my street sense, to get things I wanted. Because in education, I wouldn't have no education. Even nowadays, I wouldn't be educated, but I've good street sense, and I know how to play people. But nowadays, I'll play people in the right way. Wouldn't be gahooting on or doing that on people.
You're using your superpower for good rather
for
than
good,
evil,
exactly. And I do use that superpower for good, and it does work. So yeah, it's a great challenge because it adds to your, I suppose, to your skill set.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, your patience is nothing else.
But look, I don't know if I was telling you, but I had 2 lads out there for 8 months. They'd done a sprint triathlon, an Olympic triathlon, and a 70.3. And the 70.3 is a 1.9 row, 90k on the bike, and a half marathon.
So it's a half Ironman, so is it?
Yeah, half Ironman. Yeah. That's indoors.
Yeah,
like
that's savage. Yeah,
that's
how long
savage.
did that take them?
5.5 hours.
What ages were they?
16 and 15.
Deadly, like they take huge self-belief.
Never trained in their lives.
Yeah.
Like never. These kids never trained. Yeah. And one of them got out, I brought them up to Phoenix Park, done the half marathon with them.
Yeah.
Like kids like that just need structure.
Yeah.
They need role models. A lot of them don't have role models, you know what I mean? They're growing up in families that are broke. They're growing up, some of them with no families. Some of them are growing up in care homes. Some of them are growing up at nanny's house. Nanny has enough on that plate. You know yourself. Your nanny's always sort of let you away with everything, you know what I mean? Nannies are great, you know what I mean? But very hard for a nanny to control a teenager.
To replace a mother and a father.
Yeah, and you know what I mean? So they do a lot of what they want. And then when they get out of Oberstown, like, they've nothing. Like, Oberstown's great. But there's nothing in this country on a preventative and after. Do you know what I mean? We need aftercare with these kids because these kids build up so much confidence in Oberstown. Their armour are strong, they're built, they're educated, they're fed right. Everything is they're like a complete kid, right? Yeah. Giving all the service, and then they get out and they're straight back into what they do.
Yeah, see, they're in a controlled environment, and then they just drop straight back out again. Yeah, like that would mess with anybody's head.
Yeah. So we do definitely need something on a post and prevention. Yeah, but like everything in this country seems to be done on containment.
Right.
And I made this point last week. I done a talk for the Minister of Justice, and that if me and you go out and commit crime tomorrow, right? 170 grand like that would be put for us for Mountjoy because it's 85 grand each year.
Okay, yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Straight there.
Yeah.
So we go out tomorrow, do a robbery, me and you on remand tomorrow, straight away 85 grand is there for us a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if we get 10 years, that's 10 by 85.
Yeah.
So why can we do that and we can't do it on a preventive measure?
Yeah.
Why can we not prevent people from going on the wrong road? Why can we not put a super youth centre into communities, right? Pilot scheme, get the stats before, right? Just this many kids going down the wrong road every year, right? Get them stats, roll it in, do a 4-year project, super youth centre where people in the community, like myself, like other people that love the community, that are looking to better the community, are working in these youth centres, are role models to these kids.
So they're based in the community. Each community has their own. Yeah,
we have a little super youth centre, and what you have there is you have all your education, you have all your after school food, you're feeding them, you're influencing them, you have counsellors there, you have psychologists there, you're doing talks. It's just a hub of positivity. Do you know what I mean? That they can go to. Because what's happening out there now is the kids are joining gangs because it's a family, because they feel like they're wanted. But if we can invent these super youth centres, we can make them feel like a family in here, and unite them there in somewhere we can influence
with the right things and the right people and the
right
ideas. Yeah,
and you'll see a big difference. But that's,
can you see it happening?
Look, they haven't changed in years. Everything is up. Everything. Crime is up. Like the jails are full, 3-1 in a cell. Like nothing's been done about it. No one's changing that. It's like, I don't know. They're just not reinventing the wheel. They need to try something, you know. So I don't know. I would like to think they would. There's a lot of talk now around prisoners going and doing talks and lived experiences, getting onto committees, and do you know what I mean? So I think something might happen.
Yeah, I think again, it's hard to know because again, it's who we relying on here. We relying on our politicians or our local councillors to get it done. Minister
of Justice, Minister for Education, Minister for Health, all to pull together and say, look, let's try something. Something needs to change here because everything is up. There's nothing. All the stats and all the percentages they're increasing. They're not decreasing.
No, it's a good perspective there because people would always come back to say, there's just not the funds. But as you said, that the funds are there for other things. They could be possibly more intelligently invested, to stop this from happening.
Absolutely.
There's one last thing you mentioned there, and I know you mentioned it before, you do work with the kids in Oberstown, is you obviously do the gym work with them, but there's another program you run in Oberstown as well. Just to ask you, and I can't remember the exact name.
Forgiveness.
Yeah. What's involved in that?
So I met a pastor out there called John.
Yeah.
He's brilliant, man. Beacon of light he is going around. And I was sort of confiding in him, with my own stuff. And he was giving me parables and quotes, and I was going home. It was lovely, And then we had this idea to set up a forgiveness project where we bring the lads in and we'd read the Bibles. So we have a Bible for every kid. And what we do is we go through the Bible and then we read out parables as part of the Bible that might be similar to what they're going through at the minute. And then we'll ask questions at the end about that parable or about the part in the Bible, We've done the 7 deadly sins. So a lot of people don't understand, like, the 7 deadly sins, like, what that holds, you know what I mean? What each sin holds. And then we explain to the lads, like envy and sloth and what each of them mean, you know what I mean? And the traits around them. And yeah, we bring them in through that, and it's very, very impactful. But it's the only class that we have out there that has 8 kids in it.
Yeah.
All the other class have two kids in it. But it's huge, it's massive, and it's basically just giving them goodness in their life, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And what's the buy-in like? Because obviously, like, God or religion, it's not for everybody. Like, is it possible? Is it an essential part of someone trying to reform, or do you think people can reform without going down the route of maybe reading the Bible?
I think once people have something in their life that they can, whether it be the gym, whether it be counselling, whether it be a God, I think once you have something, you have hope. There's a poem, a part of a poem in prison that goes like this: 2 men look out the prison bars. One sees mud, one sees stars. And it depends on your perspective and what you're looking for, And I think once you're looking for something, there's hope in it. So I think it can be done in anything. It doesn't have to be one thing, but look at the power of the Spirit is very impactful. But you have to be open for that. You have to be vulnerable to let it in. But what all we're trying to do is we sort of water it down a bit, so we can't go in too deep. So we're just going through little traits, little quotes, and trying to insert some goodness into them.
You can see the value in that, explaining the sins and the traits that are involved, because again, kids can recognise that straight away and go, oh yeah, we all have them. Yeah, but it's understanding them, and how far you can go with them. Yeah. Because we all have an ego, but if you have too much an ego, it can tear down the house. You know what I mean? You'll end up with nothing. But yeah, it's very impactful. Oh, cheers. Look, I really appreciate your time today. Look, we could go on for hours and hours on this. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm just conscious, like, we spoke about a few things there that, like, obviously, like, the career you've built now, something you just mentioned to me off air is that you've gone full-time in what you're doing as well, which is a huge step. Like, again, you were working, quote unquote, a real job for a while, but now you've gone all in on your online coaching. So can you just explain what exactly is involved there, and if people wanted to find out a bit more, where's the best place to find out more?
Yeah, so I just explained to you earlier, I handed in my notes on Amazon. Yeah. So I was a mechanical engineer out there, and I'm leaving there actually Friday, because I feel I don't want to fix machines, I want to fix people. Yeah, I like your style. Well, yeah, I like to work with people. I feel that's where my passion is. And yeah, I'm an online coach, so I primarily coach people online for running and for triathlon. So if I decide I want to do an Ironman or triathlon, give me a shout. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I have a website, gerredmond.com, and I'm on Instagram, gerredmond5. Yeah, and then I'm out in Oberstown, so I feel like that's my passion out there as well. Yeah. So yeah, going to be out there a lot more, helping the kids out. Class, man. Look, thank you so much for your time today. This has been absolutely brilliant, and credit to you. Anyone who decides to take that jump to go out on their own, I have massive respect for. I know there'll be a few guys listening to this who are probably thinking about doing their own thing in the future, so hopefully they'll take a bit of inspiration from today. Yeah, thanks for your time, man. Cheers, Ger. Appreciate it.